What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Power Rankings, guys. We are here for the third episode this season, power ranking anything and everything Survivor Michigan. As always, I'm Paul, and I'm here with Joe.
Hello, everybody.
And we are all excited to dive into the madness that was this week's episode of Survivor Michigan.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. I can't believe we're 3 episodes in, first of all.
Yes.
And we need to, and I don't know if we want to wait until we get to our rankings of the returning players, but we need to talk about this idol situation.
We have to just start right here. We were bamboozled.
It was fake.
What? Oh my gosh.
Was in shock. I was even like, did I miss something in the episode? But I was like, no, I don't think we knew, right? There was no way we knew.
No, there was no indication. Wow. Just talk about a plot twist on top of a plot twist.
Yes. I was in shock. I will say Ben has moved in my list. I won't say to where, but he has moved from the last spot because of that. But yeah, I'm like speechless now, even though I've watched the episode twice. Crazy. I mean, a great move. So he made a fake clue, and then Tom found it in like 5 seconds, which maybe that should have been an indication that something was up. But I was like, no, I mean, the clue sounded legit. But then the big twist is that, and again, we'll talk about this when we get to Eliza, but so she basically figured out that the clue that they had was the opposite of that, right? Mm-hmm. And then she went and found it in the tree stump. I was blown away by that.
Unbelievable play from our returners this week.
Mm-hmm.
Just absolutely proving why they got called back. All 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Man. And the episode started out on that crazy note. And so it was just like, what? Like, where do we go from here? And it was just mile-a-minute craziness all episode long.
It really was. I feel like my jaw dropped like 19 different times. It was crazy.
And like, now we have 2 idols on Tokidoki.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming they're both real. Now, we don't know what else the editors might have in store for us. I don't trust anything my eyes show me anymore.
No, I don't either.
It's very, like, we got 2 idols over there.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them get played this week. It feels like we are, this season is already off to such a strong start, but we are really going to head towards a clash of the Titans.
Oh, for
sure. And whether we get merge at 12, swap at 12, merge at 11, merge at 10, whatever happens, we are on our way to something incredible, building off of this already incredible foundation.
Mm-hmm. I had this thought actually last week, and I kind of thought about it again this week, but because we started with, was it 16? Was it 8 and 8?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the smallest cast that they've had, right?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on like some sort of a Redemption Island, bring the Outcasts tribe back twist?
Interesting. I would be very into that, I think.
I kind of would too. Like, I feel like we don't see that really often in College Survivor, right? I'm trying to like run through my Rolodex of the like 14 different versions that I've seen, but I don't know. I feel like when they were talking about like having a smaller cast at some point, and then I was just like, wouldn't it be interesting if they just brought someone back somehow? Like, I don't know.
Yes, definitely. I would be way into that. I think that's a great, especially given this cast and the strength of this cast, I'd be so into that. And also, I mean, they have the 4 returners, and you don't know how the returners are going to do or if they're not going to do. So if they had sort of preloaded that failsafe in there, sort of in that edge of extinction-y kind of way,
right?
I think that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, like maybe all the voted out players are like living in like some sort of dorm room somewhere, just waiting to get back in.
One dorm in campus, just Oh
Because
wow, yeah,
I could see them doing like that, the same editing thing that they did, like, going 3 weeks back and 3 days back or whatever. Like, just
yeah.
some episode they just go back and it's like, after what was their name, Aaron? After Aaron's like
Yeah.
confessional, they're like, okay, like you're gonna get a chance to get back in later. Then they show Tom, they show Adam, and
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know.
And
Let's put
now
that out into the
Aaron is
universe.
okay. I like that. I also like the idea of Aaron being stuck on the edge of extinction with Adam and Tom, and that's why she has to call Kat this week is because she's just going insane
Yeah,
being stuck with Adam and Tom. So she
exactly.
just to save her sanity, because the Adam and Tom are just running scenarios all day long on edge of extinction constantly. And Aaron is like, I just need to get back to my sorority house.
Right, right.
God bless her.
Hopefully they gave them some whiteboards at least to
Yeah,
work
exactly. To save her sanity.
with.
So, yeah. But no, I like that idea. I think that that's the right way to put it out into the universe. I think we will see what happens. I mean, anything can happen this season of Survivor Michigan, as
Oh, for
we
sure.
learned from the coming up next week on Survivor.
I am so excited about that. Eric
I am
Reichenbach.
stunned.
So cool.
Stunned.
I can't wait
What
to
a
see
get.
that.
What
I
a
know,
get for
I
Survivor
know.
Michigan. A
I'm
bona fide legend.
I'm assuming did he go there? Maybe?
I think he's in the area because I know they had talked about him consulting on they had talked to him or consulted with him, and then he did the poster, right?
Yes,
Like,
which I have one of.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes,
Look at you.
little sidebar. I actually have 2 pieces of Eric Reichenbach artwork in my apartment at this moment.
Wow. Wow. That is incredible.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see him. He actually, this is like a really sidebar, but I actually met him through Zoom like a year ago.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I'm just excited. It's awesome to just see any type of Survivor come into the college Survivor world. So I think this is going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see how this reward challenge happens. I can't wait to see the players' faces when he walks out, and then what kind of a challenge he has to compete in.
Yes. I'm very excited. I think this is just a nutso twist, and I love it. Mind blowing.
Yep.
So good. This season, every episode has just been chock full of content.
Yeah.
I can't get enough.
No, me neither. And we got another episode in a couple days, which is great.
I know. Well, on that note, let's get into it. Power rankings. We'll start with the new players, like always. Who do you have at the bottom? Not at the bottom of your list, but at your number 5 on the list this week?
So I actually put Katie.
Oh, okay. Making her debut.
Yes, I felt like it's time. It's Katie's time to join the list.
Okay.
Excuse me. I feel like I liked how she had that dream that about Jack and Camilla being super close. So I gave her brownie points for that, and I feel like it's funny too because it's like her and Ben are kind of like seen as a duo. But then with Jack and Camilla being seen as a duo, it's kind of like it could almost be like which duo strikes first, right? So I like that Katie's kind of figured this out, and I feel like she has a really good grasp on some of the dynamics of the tribe. So, and we love to see, Survivor, creeping into people's dreams. Like, you just know, that's when you know you're in it, right? Like, if you're having dreams about the game you're playing, like, you're in it. So I really liked hearing that. I feel like we're getting a little bit more of Katie in this past episode. So she was my number 5.
Yes, excuse me. I think that's great. I love Katie. She did not make my top 5 this list, but I like her. I feel like she is. I feel like she maybe would have been in a bad spot if they had lost this week. But I think the longer she stays in the game, the better place she's in.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm totally happy for her. I think that congratulations to her to making her debut on our list. Yay for Katie.
Woo.
In my 5 spot, and this is painful for me, but in my 5 spot, I had to put Dale.
Interesting. He moved down on my list, I will say. Not necessarily for any specific reasons, but yeah, why is he at number 5?
I am losing my thrill with the Dale game. And I'll tell you why.
Uh-oh.
I think that I don't like the Dale being upset with Ben thing at all. I don't think that that's because we talked last week about, it was in the previews, like, who is Dale going to be like? You're gone. I didn't know you, and now I know you, and you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And for that to be thrown at Ben just doesn't make any sense. It's not somebody you're on a tribe with yet.
Yeah.
He was kind of harsh with Adam in a way that I wasn't super thrilled about because I think Adam is saying he wants to take out a strong player, but he's not saying he wants to take you out. I think you're kind of inferring that.
Yeah.
I started to get like the vibe of like, how sometimes we get like these older like dudes on Survivor who are like, we're just going to keep the tribe strong and ride it all the way out until the end. Just this group all the way until the end. And like, that's their whole MO on Survivor. Mm-hmm. And I'm afraid that Dale is starting to get into that place of like, let's just take this group all the way till the end and be done with it. And I don't think that's going to work in this cast at all. And I'm afraid that he is setting himself up to be in a not great place where like he gets to the end and he's like, hey, I was loyal. And everybody's like, yeah, but oh well. Or to get backstabbed by somebody. Mm-hmm. And so I had to move him down. He still has an idol, which I think is good. I worry about the old man. And also he called himself daddy this week, which sort of freaked me out a little bit. I was a little bit like that felt weird. Like, okay. So yeah, for those reasons, he's still on my list, and I still think he's in a good position in this moment.
Yeah.
But I think down the road, he's kind of locking himself into something that's not going to be so good for him.
Yeah, I moved him down to number 3 in my list.
Okay.
So I'm still a Dale fan, but yeah, I think,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely got like sort of like the stern dad vibes with kind of how he was
Mm-hmm.
talking about some of the other players. And I think I feel like his target has grown a little bit. I do want to say, and again, this is another thing for probably when we talk about Eliza, but with her kind of noticing him fidgeting when she brought up the idol.
Oh my gosh.
That was beautiful to see. So if Eliza truly thinks he has an idol, that's obviously not a good thing.
Yes.
And I feel like too, I wasn't sure exactly between like him, Matthew, and Jackson, but I felt like he would probably, I feel like his target is growing. So I feel like he would be somebody that might be like taken out before even Matthew. Like we might get to a point where that actually happens. So that's why he moved down, but I had him at number 3. I mean, I can't put someone at number 5 who was born at Disney World. I just can't do it.
Born at Disney World. That was, what?
We need to know the backstory.
Born in... what? That it was mind-blowing, and they just glossed over it. Game show host Cooper, which, by the way, so funny. The mini Cooper is coming into his own this season. I feel like game show host Cooper has made an appearance. We've seen Cooper go back and forth with Kat at Tribal Council now. Yep. We saw Cooper seemingly in his house for the preview for next week's episode. So I feel like Cooper is really coming into his own this season, sort of like, Jeff Probst, maybe like, Amazon Pearl Islands All-Stars Jeff Probst is where we're getting Cooper at right now. And I think this is the prime of Cooper so far on Survivor.
I agree. And he got to cast a vote.
Oh, I know.
That was huge.
He's doing it all.
I think what I wrote down too, I don't know if you noticed this, but the way that he was holding the microphone was really interesting to me. He was holding it like sideways, almost like a rapper or something. I was like, This is
Oh.
interesting. It was just something that I noticed. I
Oh,
was like, all right,
yes.
like when he asked I was expecting him to just like do like a mic drop at some point and be like, okay, who's
Yeah, I
married on
wish.
Facebook besides Dale? Mic drop, walk away. Like I was really expecting that.
Oh,
But I thought that was really interesting. That challenge was very intriguing as well with some of those questions. But
yes.
yeah, I liked the second part though. I liked the puzzle with Camilla and Shannon having each other's pieces, and we'll probably talk about that in a few minutes.
I think we
depending
will.
on who's on our list. But yeah, I like that aspect of it.
I did too. Good challenges this season already. So except I hate pickles. So that first challenge was very like cringe for me. I was like, if I was one of the returners, that would be so tough.
I'm hit or miss on pickles. You really have to be in the right mood. And but drinking the pickle juice, I've had like a pickleback shot before. Not a big fan. So props to everybody that had to deal with
all
that.
the returners. Yeah. All right, who's in your number 4 spot?
I have Megan.
Oh, okay. I have Megan in my number 3 spot.
Perfect. I mean, I feel like I say the same things about Megan every week. I feel like though she didn't seem that happy to get the idol clue. I kind of noticed, which I'm clearly joking.
I don't think she was happy to get the I don't think she was happy to get the idol clue. I think her face was in this perma smile that was like my note just says Megan's smile watch is out of control.
Yeah, there needs to be like a smile meter that they put on there.
It's like she's listening to this podcast somehow in the future and doing it intentionally, because I have never seen like you said, that scene where she has the idol clue with those guys, her smile is so wide it's touching her ears.
Yeah.
Never in my life have I seen anyone smile like that.
And I think it's great. I think it's like, I love that about her.
Oh, it's so good. It's so pleasant.
Yes.
Like, it's like there's just something about Megan and the smiliness there that, like, I like her. I would want to work with her. I think people do want to work with her. So, yes. But anyhow, why Megan in 4?
No specific reason. I think I had her 3 last week. So, pretty interchangeable. No specific reason to move her down a spot or anything. But I think, getting the idol clue was a good thing, and she was able to sort of strengthen her bond with Jack and Camilla by sharing it with them, and we even saw the shot of them in the car being like, that really makes me like Megan even more. So yeah, as I think we've said every week, like I think she's in a good spot. I think she's made some good connections. I feel like if there's no swap and that tribe loses again, I feel like she would be fine. I think I feel like I'm going to be really interested to see where her game goes, like long term. Like, will we see Megan smiling, but like stabbing someone in the back while she does it? You know what I mean? And I think she's going to be a very, not underestimated, but like unassuming player to like make a move like that. So it's kind of like, I'm really waiting to see if that happens in the future. But I like Megan. I'm only smiling when I see her on screen. So I'm happy to have her at number 4.
Absolutely. I feel like Megan is in the safest place in the game. Like, and that's why I put her at number 3, because I don't see any conceivable scenario where she gets voted out anytime soon. I think, like you said, there's kind of the Jack and Camilla and Ben and Katie thing going on El Norte, and I think they both like Megan and want to work with Megan. And I think Nate, who's also on the outside, likes Megan and wants to work with Megan. I think if anything, she's in a really great swing spot. But the flip side of that is, just like you said, I need to see her do something. I need to see her be willing to make a move. It's not like she hasn't really had an opportunity yet. So it's not a criticism of her game. She's been playing just fine. But the question for does she have
Right.
that gear? Does she have that gear to say, I am going to stab somebody in the back. I am going to be ruthless. I am going to lie. I am going to play a little bit dirtier game in order to really give herself, because I think the place she's at right now, I think she's going to go deep in the game. But I don't want to see her get to a point where she's deep in the game and then looks around and it's like, oh, I can't win.
Right. Yeah.
And that's my fear for Megan's game. So I put her in 3 because I love her. I think she's safe. I think she's smiling her way to the top. She's just full of potential for me right now. Just all of that potential energy I need to see go somewhere.
I'm on the same page. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So your number 2 is...
Oh, right, because we already talked about Dale and Megan. Yes.
Yeah, because my number 3 was Megan. So your number 3 was Dale. My number 3 was Megan. So your number 2
is Jackson.
Oh, me too.
Yep. Yeah, so he went up. I still don't understand why I had him at like number 5.5 last week, but he's back on the list. He's at number 2. That's a really strong spot. I don't know. I really like Jackson. I think he's in a good spot. And I think kind of what I was saying before, I feel like Dale and Matthew, like of that 3, I feel like Jackson would be in the best spot of the 3 of them.
I agree.
So I think he's in a great spot. I think he had some really great confessionals this week, as usual. Super funny. I'm trying to think. The one thing, so it's been bugging me for 3 weeks now. He reminds me of like someone or like multiple people. And I think I finally got it. So let me know your thoughts on this. A mix of Cody from Big Brother with Cochran.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so the Cochran thing, it was the confessional when he was talking about learning the information from Kat and then sharing it with Matthew or with production or whatever. And just like, I could hear Cochran speaking for some reason. And I was like, wait, I think this is who I was thinking of. So next time you watch, just keep that in mind and let me know if you have that same thought. But I don't know, just some of the stuff that he says, it's just, I don't know. It's just very interesting to me and reminds me of him, which he's a former winner. So that's...
Yeah, it's a great comparison.
But, other than that, yeah, I think he's in a great spot. I think he's super likable. I think I feel like he almost is kind of like a combination of like he has like the good aspects of Matthew and the good aspects of Dale, and I feel like that makes him like a really good player. And I think he's in a great spot in his tribe. So I was happy to shoot him back up the list and be in my number 2 spot.
Definitely. I totally agree with you. I think that natural charm is great. I think there is a self-confidence about him that I don't think we've seen anybody get annoyed by yet, which I think is I think that kind of thing where you're like, you're clever and you're being like kind of sarcastic and like a little bit like, I'm the greatest, da-da-da, in confessional, but that's not translating to your in-game play is kind of the best place to be. I think we see that from a lot of Survivor winners. I think that's a Tyson thing. I think that's a Jeremy Collins thing. I think even that's a Brian Heidick thing to a degree, but I think Jackson is more naturally charming than that, where they're kind of in confessional, like, yeah, like I'm running the show, like I'm doing great, but we don't see a confessional of anybody else being like, God, Jackson's such a dick, you know? So it's clear that he's not coming across that way to his tribe. And so I'm like, I am very high on the Jackson game right now going forward. I think he is in a great position, especially, like you said, being in the center of the Dale and Matthew thing, where I think now Eliza is a little bit like worried about Dale, where she's like, does Dale have an idol? And then people are talking about Matthew, the amateur homicide detective, and all of that is airing. And so I think he is in just the right spot to be like in that in that tribe. So I'm loving Jackson this
Perfect.
week. Alrighty, and now in the number one spot, I'm
That's
guessing
what
we
I'm
both
thinking
have the
because I'm
same
like, there's
person.
no way you have anyone else.
There's no way you have anyone else. I agree. It's gotta be
Yes,
Queen Camilla.
1000%.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Where to even
gosh.
begin? Um,
I don't even know. I have to give you credit because you were in on the Camilla thing
mhm.
before I was. You were the one from episode one saying
Yep.
she is it, and I had to catch up with you, and now I finally have. She is at the top of my list for the first time. Obsessed with her
Welcome to the
game.
Camilla Club. Um, yeah,
Obsessed.
yeah. Again, I don't know where to even start. So the puzzle challenge, I feel like, she killed that. I loved how like as soon as her
Killed
and
it.
Shannon got together, Camilla was like, "Hey, let's work together at the merge." Love that move.
Yes.
Um, the one thing
Mm-hmm.
that I absolutely loved from her was the comparison of saying that you're agreeing to a final two with someone and how that's like the I love you of Survivor. I think that was one of
Oh
my
my gosh.
favorite like metaphors that we've seen in such a long time. And I was sitting there, I was like, that is genius. And I think it's even funny that she was
Yes.
like not even necessarily willing to say it to Jack yet, who is like
Mm-hmm.
clearly her closest ally at this point, right? But I think that actually
Yes.
is like smart. It's like, if he's not brought it up yet, fair. And who knows what's in store
Yeah.
for the next couple weeks? Like there could be a swap. She could end up with someone else. Like he could get
Exactly.
taken. Like so, I loved that line. I think that was like I think it's literally as soon as she said that, I like wrote her name down at number one, which she probably would have been there anyway, regardless. But I was like,
Oh my
that's just such a
gosh.
really interesting way to put it. And she was like, I don't want to, it's like, for people that have been in love before, like you don't want to say it until you fully mean it. And I think it's really interesting that she's as trusting as she is of Jack, like she's not even necessarily ready to commit to a final two with him. I don't know. I love that. That was like, besides everything else that we love about Camilla, I really, really liked that analogy or that
Mm-hmm.
metaphor. So,
That was
mm-hmm.
iconic content from Camilla. Like when she said that, I was like, that's like
Mm-hmm.
high level analysis
Yes,
of the game to be able to look at it and say, like, this is what this is like, and I'm not doing this
right.
for this reason. Oh my God. In the confessional, where who is she talking about? Is she talking about Ben or Nate? Where she's like, he was like, yeah, I don't want everybody to know how close we are. And she was like, sometimes I don't even know how close we are. I
That was
was
so funny.
cracking up. One of the hardest I've laughed so far this season, but it's just a great. This is something you and I were talking about off the air. Is
Yes.
self awareness and the need for self awareness, and I don't. I think Camilla has
Mm-hmm.
total self awareness about where she is in the game, her relationships with the people on her tribe, and kind of where she fits into the
Yeah, I
grand scheme
totally
of
agree.
things.
I love that scene too of her and Jack. They had like an entire whiteboard full of different things, and so like they're scheming,
Mm-hmm.
they're strategizing. Yeah, I agree. I think she's in such a good spot. I think she's playing super well. I think she's sort of like honestly, it's like a mix of Parvati and Amanda. Like she's got, the flirty, bubbly personality, but she's got the
Yeah.
strategic mind as well. So it's like yeah, I mean I can't say enough good things about her. I'm so intrigued to see, you know, where her game goes from here. But yeah, I'm
Yes.
on the Camilla train and I'm not hopping off until she either the season is over or she gets voted out.
I am right there with you. I am so impressed with her, so in
Mm-hmm.
love with her game right now. And yeah, she is for me, she is the person even like I mean, we have four
Yeah.
returners who I love, all four of them. And yet when I'm watching an episode,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for Camilla. Like I'm looking for her on screen because she's that good of a character in addition to
Right.
her level of play right now. So couldn't be any higher on Team Camilla. Couldn't be any higher on her. Alrighty, well, now that we've gotten that out of our systems, let's go into our returnee rankings, where there may have been a little bit of a shakeup this week.
I can say the same. I actually moved some people around.
I did hear, for the first time, I have moved Ben out of the bottom spot. We flirted with it last week. We talked about it last week, but so who do you have?
Unfortunately, and again, these are so close. Like, it could literally be like 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Like, that's how close some of these could be. But I had Matthew in the 4th spot. Okay.
I did too.
Yeah, it was tough.
Unfortunately.
I was like, wait. Like, I literally wanted to just write like 1, 1, 1, 1, but that's against the rules. And it's honestly nothing that he's really done. I think, with his season airing, I think that's just shining a bigger spotlight on him. So, again, and we've said that every week, when we learned that his season was going to be airing, just kind of like how that's going to affect his game. I loved the Maison 6 throwback. We got to see some of our favorites from season 1.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I love that he's trying to like build that back up with, his current tribe. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have any other reason. I think it was more some of the stuff that some of the other players did to just kind of propel them forward. I still think he's in an okay spot. Like I said, I think him and Dale's targets are bigger than Jackson's. So it'll be interesting to see, the next couple episodes kind of what happens. But it's, I think he's still playing a really great game. And I think he'll be able to, it'll probably be nice once they get to the episode that he's voted off, because I feel like then that sort of spotlight will kind of fade again, as season 1 progresses. So I think that'll actually help him once he gets to that point.
Yeah, he's got to make it 4 more weeks into the game, and then he'll be in good shape once his original boot airs, and then he's just got to make it that far.
Hopefully he does.
Again, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't think he made any mistakes, but I am sort of concerned about the Maison 6 thing. I mean, obviously, I'm never going to say no to seeing Cam and Mitch on my screen again. Love those guys, both of them. But I feel like Dale is not Cam, and Jackson is not Mitch. Like, I think both of those guys are like in very different places in the game, and Eliza is definitely not Brittany. And I love Brittany.
Sure.
Brittany played a strong game. I was strongly pro Brittany season 1, but I think if you're like, and I also think that their relationships to Matthew are very different, and so I'm concerned about him sort of trying to fit those puzzle pieces together, because I'm like, I think Jackson has much more of an itchy trigger finger than Mitch ever had. Mitch was kind of a loyal guy. He was willing to go down all the way with the group, and Jackson is not that guy at all. And I think Dale is playing a much more savvy game than Cam was. As much as I liked Cam, I don't think that Cam was really playing that savvy of a game in season 1. And I think Dale definitely is. And so I'm worried about Matthew's spot come merge time. Because I think, especially with Jack and Ben getting closer, and Jack seeming to want to work with Ben, I don't think that Jack will have much need for Matthew in that scenario. A good point.
And it's tough too. It's like when you,
So I'm just nervous.
I think you brought up some good points about trying. I hope he doesn't try to stick with this Maison 6 2.0 thing too strongly, and you had specific people in season 1. This is a new season. Like, hopefully that's why I'm kind of hoping like a swap happens or something, and then everybody can kind of like reset a little bit. But yes, I agree with what you said, and I really want to move him out of 4th. I think he's been 3rd or 4th each week, so I'm hoping things kind of turn around in that aspect, because I don't like him.
Yeah, but it's like we said, it's less about what he's doing and more just about his position in the game. So, so you're number three
is Jack.
then. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I put Ben in number three.
I don't know.
But,
I put mine in alphabetical order this week, so we'll go with that.
Oh. Well, you see, you were just cheating. You just went easy.
But yeah, again, I think I was so blown away by the fake idol thing that I was just like, Ben's just going to jump up to number 2 for me. And just for that alone, even.
Yeah.
So again, nothing that Jack
totally
did
valid
to move him down to 3. It was just like, I was just so in awe by the whole idol thing. I just like ran to my notepad and was like, number 2, Ben, done. So yeah, that's kind of why, where that came from.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's talk about Jack first then. I have him in number 2. You have him in number 3, but I think we're both on the same page as far as Jack's
he's playing
game
fantastic game. There's no doubt about that. He's in a good spot. He's got some good connections. Again, the him versus Ben as far as a target, I feel like, Ben's done a pretty good job of, I feel like, maintaining his target or maybe even lowering it from the first week, which is good. But I still feel like Jack might be in a better spot comparatively. And it's going to be interesting with this sort of like, if it's becomes obvious, if it's not already. I mean, Katie's having dreams about it, but with him and Camilla being such a close 2, and then sort of Ben and Katie as a close 2, like, it would be interesting if they did try to go after each other. But I feel like if there was a Wolverine war between these 2 pairs, I feel like Jack would be able to get the numbers on his side, unfortunately. So I give him sort of props for that too.
Yeah.
Where I think his connections, with Megan and we still haven't really seen anything like a Nate versus Ben situation. So I'm still wondering if that's something about that's ever going to pop up. But I feel like Jack might be able to pull the numbers to his side if that type of situation were to occur. So he could have easily stayed at number 2 here. But yeah, he's in a really great spot still.
Yeah, I agree. That was why I did mine that way. Because I do think Jack is still, I think if there were to be a clash of the Titans, that I would still be, I do think Jack is still ahead of that. But, I do think that people getting worried about the Jack and Camilla thing is not great. I think Jack is somebody who would benefit highly from a swap or a merge, depending on how it shook out. Because I think he's somebody that is going to be good in building relationships just about anywhere he goes and kind of flipping a target on somebody else. I like his relationship with Megan still a ton because I still think I think Megan and Camilla both think of Jack as their number 1. And on a 6-person tribe, 2 people thinking of you as their number 1 basically makes you safe, barring any kind of craziness. So I still like Jack's game. So that was why I still kept him at 2. But to switch topics, Ben.
Oh,
I have to say something controversial. I am coming around on Ben revealing the Ben bomb.
Okay.
And I don't know whether, and we'll have to find out post-game whether this was Ben's doing on purpose or Ben's not doing on purpose, but I sort of think about it this way. Everybody found out about the Ben bomb like day 1, basically. It was a topic of conversation, and now it's kind of over. We saw Aliza and Dale talking about it a little bit this week, but like as far as the people on his tribe goes, it's over. It's not a conversation anymore. It would be so much more damaging if he had, because obviously the other 3 returners all know what happened. Because we see Aliza talking about it this week. It would have been so much more damaging to his game, I think, to have that hanging over his head every week. Because the thing is, it happened, and you can't get rid of it. So it is what it is. And again, we'll find out later whether this was on purpose or not, but I am coming around to thinking that revealing that off the top actually really helped Ben's game because he's been able to settle into this position of kind of just nice guy Ben on the tribe, and Jack is now like, I think Ben and I are friends. You know what I mean? And Katie's obviously with him. We haven't seen any kind of blow up between him and Nate like I thought we might, which is good. I think he's getting along with Camilla fine. So I think there's that there. And then obviously I'm going to throw it over to you to talk about this fake idol clue.
No, I like what you said there, and I think you're right. I think when we saw it in week 1 and he's telling everybody about this, it's like, what the heck? But, and I think, I forget if you had just said this or not, but it would have been worse to, one of the returners throwing it out there in week 3, 4, or 5, and then Ben having to explain everything, and then you're already in it, this long. So I think you're right. I think that does make sense. Like, get that information out there. It would have been a different story if none of the returners knew, right? Because then it's like you keep that a secret because it would never get
totally
out.
Different.
So yeah, I actually like that. But yeah, I think the fake idol clue situation and just I feel like just the snowball effect that had on just how the entire episode of last week went, or 2 weeks ago. I'm getting all confused. Yeah, 2 episodes ago.
Episode 2. Yeah,
just huge. I was just it never even crossed my mind. And even looking at it again, seeing the idol, like you can kind of tell it's not an idol that like they would normally have. It's usually like a string with a turtle or whatever. Like I don't even know what it was, but so it's just like everything that caused, and then going for an entire week thinking that Tom went home with a real idol in his pocket, to then finding out that it was fake. I don't know. That was just brilliant to me. And again, that's why I put Ben at number 2. I was like, just everything everything that happened around that, as in the game and as a viewer, like was so impactful. So yeah, I was happy to throw Ben up there on number 2 for my list, just for that reason alone.
I'm liking the Ben game. I think we're starting to see the good stuff of Ben that we liked so much in season 3 of he's good with people, he's funny, he's like a fun friend to be around, I think, for people. And so I think Ben is in a good spot, getting better. This whole Dale thing is confusing to me. Why is Dale mad at Ben? Because, I mean, I get it. Like, what Ben did last season was kind of crappy, but it's like he did it to somebody you don't know on a season you weren't on. Like, I don't like. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. And maybe that was just kind of him spouting out. Maybe it doesn't amount to anything, but I felt like that was just a weird note. But I think with everybody liking Ben, I think it makes him much safer in a swap/merge scenario where I don't think his entire tribe sees him as expendable. Where I think even like Jack is going to want to fight a little bit harder to keep Ben around than he would have otherwise.
It would be interesting. Again, I know we keep saying it, and maybe we're not going to get a swap this season. Who knows? But it would be interesting to see where he landed. And then, like if he's like with like a Dale and a Jackson, that could kind of be trouble. But I think he'd be able to manage, as Mitch would say. Got to throw a little Mitch thing.
Yeah, there you go. Very nice.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see kind of how he does with that. But the one critique I have of Ben is, and I think they've shown it in the past 2 weeks, but he was wearing his buff upside down. I think it was like David versus Goliath, which I was just like, I don't know. It was just funny to me. I was like, he's got to turn that around. But obviously he can't go back in time and do that. But if that's my only critique.
No, there you go. His one night stand with the idol guy was also so funny. That was too
funny. So if that's my only critique of Ben, then that's you're in a good spot. So
that's a good week. All right, and now moving on to number 1, Queen. How could I ever doubt you even for a moment?
It's Eliza. Yep.
Eliza.
I mean, wow. Where do we start? She found that idol.
Wow.
Huge. Loved that. I could watch the first 8 minutes of that episode 100 times. Just so cool. But huge props to her. She
Mm-hmm.
finds an idol again in her second season, so we love that. Um, yeah, I just think
Yep.
she's playing so well. I loved that she was married on Facebook and she had no idea. That was hilarious.
Oh my
She's picking
gosh,
up
so
on
funny.
Dale having an idol just by his, his mannerisms when I don't know. I
Oh my
ran out of
gosh.
room of like notes. I kept like adding notes next to her name and I had to like go onto another page. But she's playing super well. We love Eliza. She's got an idol in her pocket that I feel like no one will ever suspect her having it at all. So I think that's
No. No.
perfect. Yeah, again, she's locked in number one at the number one spot for me until she does anything bad, which I feel like probably would never happen.
Yeah. Which we've said before, and here we are, 2 seasons in. Aliza with an idol is, I don't know that there's anybody in Survivor Michigan that is as dangerous with an idol as Aliza.
Yep.
We saw what she can pull last season in that incredible trickery at the Sarah boot. What's not to love about her game? I think she's kind of in with everybody. She's talking with everybody. Everybody likes her. She's got these incredible reads.
I know.
That read on Dale is just so incredible. I don't even think
No one.
who else is even looking for that. I think she is. I think Jack is definitely going to be keen to play with her in sort of a merge swap situation. I look at even the rest of the people on El Norte. I look at like Megan and Aliza seem like a supernatural fit. Even like Nate and Katie seem like a natural fit. I again, until she makes a mistake, I doubted her for a brief moment because I was high on Jack last week, and I should never. Not 5 minutes into this week's episode, it was like a personal chastisement of me on the podcast last week. How could you ever doubt Aliza? How could you ever deign to take her out of the first place spot of the returners? How dare you? She is killing it. And again, I really think we are heading for a clash of the Titans. Because I don't see any of these 4 returners really going anywhere anytime soon. I think they all have lieutenants lined up. I think it is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah,
I cannot.
It will be interesting to see how many new players go before a returnee goes, and then it's like once a returnee goes, like does that just the dominoes continue to fall, or can one or two of them kind of rise above that and make it to the end?
But I mean, think about we've talked about this in the past, both on podcast and not, but both Ben and Jack, their game was kind of undone by these big rivalry blowups. You see sort of like Ben goes, and then it sort of sets off this crazy chain of reaction where we end up with Dylan at the end, and then we have Sam goes, and then we see this chain of reaction where Jack goes, and then Sarah's in a really bad spot and almost saves herself, but she can't. And it's like if they learned from their first seasons to not pull the trigger too quickly, we really could be looking way down the line before this really explodes, which I think would be so great. And obviously, Matthew does not want to go out early. Given his first season, Matthew is somebody who wants to at least make an appearance in the merge, let alone a deep run at the merge. So he's not going to be too interested in blowing up a game super early. So I really think that we could be in line for something we don't see often in All-Star or Returner seasons, which is seeing them all in the game way down the line.
Yeah, I hope that happens. I mean, again,
so good.
Like, there's a lot of great new players too, so it's going to be. I feel like we're going to be very conflicted. We're going to be getting to points where it's like, it's going to be between two people. It's going to be between a returner and a new player, and we're going to want them both to stay. So I think we're going to get to a point where it's just going to be like the episodes are going to be tougher and tougher, and the boot list is just going to be like sad every week. I mean, it already is, but it's like, yeah, deeper in the game, it's going to be really tough because I feel like there's a lot of great people on both sides of this. So yeah, it's oof, who the heck knows?
Totally agree. I know. We sure don't.
Yes.
But we are excited to find out. So thanks for hanging out with us again on the Power Rankings, guys. We'll be back next week to power rank everything from this super exciting upcoming episode. But for now, I'm Paul. This is Joe. We'll see you next week.